The vanishing at dawn. The village of Kala slept under a sky painted with deep indigo, streaked with silver stars. A gentle wind whispered through the acacia trees, carrying the scent of earth and river mud. Crickets sang in the distance, and the soft murmur of the nearby river mingled with the rustle of dry leaves. But the calm night was broken by the uneasy feeling that had settled over the village for days. Children whispered of shadows moving between huts, and even the elders, who had seen many seasons, felt a shiver run down their spines. Among the villagers, there was a small boy named Kofi. His laughter had once echoed through the narrow paths of Kala, but tonight he was missing. The last anyone saw, he had been playing near the riverbank at dusk, chasing the flickering lights of fireflies. When the moon rose, he was gone. A thin fog rolled over the savannah, and the villagers' search call seemed swallowed by the night. Even the dogs, fierce and loyal, would not bark, as if the spirits themselves had silenced them. Elder Abena, a woman with silver hair tied in coils and eyes deep as the river, gathered the villagers near the fire. The flames cast dancing shadows on their anxious faces. "The river spirits are restless," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "And the forest. It watches us. We must not anger them, for the spirits do not take lightly to broken rules." The villagers exchanged nervous glances. None had seen the spirits for generations, yet all believed in their power. As the firelight flickered, a sudden howl pierced the night. The hunters grabbed their spears and lanterns, hearts pounding, and rushed toward the sound. Leaves crunched underfoot, and the wind carried whispers that no human mouth had spoken. Deep in the forest, among twisted roots and ancient baobabs, shadows seemed to move with purpose. Kofi's small figure appeared at the edge of their vision, only to vanish again. Some villagers swore they saw a faint glow surrounding him, like the last traces of dawn, though it was still hours away. In the heart of the village, Queen Amani stood silently, her hands resting on the carved staff of her ancestors. Her face was grave, for she had seen visions in the river water that morning, visions of Kofi walking with a spirit, a figure neither human nor beast, its eyes like molten gold. The queen's voice broke the silence. "If Kofi returns, he will not return as he was. The spirits follow him, and their path is mysterious and dangerous." The villagers shivered at her words. The night grew darker, yet somehow the river shimmered, calling, as if inviting the lost child to step into its secret world. Somewhere in the distance, drums began to beat, soft at first, then louder, echoing across the mountains and riverlands. The rhythm was ancient, primal, and filled with both warning and hope. Kofi's fate, tangled with the spirits of the forest and river, had begun. And the villagers knew, deep in their bones, that nothing in Kala would ever be the same. Whispers of the forest as dawn approached, a heavy mist crept across the savannah, wrapping the village of Kala in a soft, chilling embrace. The villagers gathered near the riverbank, where the first pale light reflected off the rippling water. Yet Kofi was still missing, and the forest beyond seemed alive, filled with whispers that no human voice could make. The elders' faces were etched with worry, and even the bravest hunters felt their courage waver. Elder Abena led a small group into the forest, their lanterns swinging gently, casting long shadows among twisted roots and thick undergrowth. Each step seemed to awaken something, and seen branches groaned as if speaking, and the wind carried voices that murmured warnings. "Do not stray," the whispers seemed to say, "or the spirits will claim more than a child." The hunters gripped their spears tightly, feeling the pulse of the ancient forest as if it were a living heart. Suddenly, a rustle echoed from the trees. Kofi appeared for a brief moment, standing on a mound of moss-covered rocks, his eyes wide with fear and wonder. But behind him, faint and shimmering like mist, moved a figure tall and ethereal. Its golden eyes glowed softly, and the villagers instinctively stepped back. The spirit was beautiful and terrifying, its body shifting like smoke, yet anchored in the earthly world. Kofi turned to the villagers, but did not speak, only reaching out as if to call them closer. Elder Abina whispered, "The spirits have chosen him." But why? As they moved cautiously forward, strange signs appeared, the footprints of Kofi intertwined with prints that were too large, too perfect, to be human. The hunters exchanged uneasy glances. The deeper they went, the air grew heavier, and the sound of distant drums reverberated from somewhere unseen. Each beat seemed to carry both a warning and a rhythm of hope. The spirit followed Kofi, always just a step behind, yet never touching him. Its presence was a puzzle, a riddle that tugged at the hearts of those who saw it. By midday, they reached a clearing where the grass shimmered in shades of gold and green, untouched by time. Kofi knelt beside a small pool, his hands hovering over the water. The reflection showed not only his face, but faint, ghostly figures dancing around him. The elders gasped these were the spirits of their ancestors, long thought gone, now summoned by some unseen force. The wind carried their murmurs, lessons of courage, of respect, of paths once forgotten. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the villagers to understand. Queen Amani arrived with a small council, her robes flowing like liquid night. She studied Kofi and the spirit, eyes narrowed in thought. "This is no ordinary disappearance," she said. "The forest has chosen a protector, a bridge between our world and theirs. Kofi must learn, or the balance will be lost." The villagers murmured in fear and awe, realizing that their lives were now entwined with forces far beyond their comprehension. Every shadow, every whisper, every drumbeat hinted at secrets waiting to be uncovered. As night fell, the spirit hovered closer, and Kofi, though small, stood taller than the tallest hunter. The first test had begun, and the villagers understood that what they witnessed was only the beginning. The forest had opened its heart, and they were all trapped in its mystery. The secret of the river spirit. The night was alive with the hum of cicadas and the soft rustle of palm leaves, and the village of Kala slept uneasily. Only the river remained awake, flowing silver under the moonlight, as if guarding the secrets it had held for centuries. Kofi sat by its edge, the spirit standing silently behind him, its golden eyes reflecting the stars. The boy had begun to sense something unusual. The spirit was not just following him, it was guiding him. Elder Abina approached slowly, leaning on her carved staff, the flames of her lantern casting long, flickering shadows across the ground. Kofi, she said gently, the river has chosen you. The spirits speak through its waters, and tonight you must listen. Kofi nodded, his small hands trembling as he dipped them into the cool flow. The water seemed to shimmer unnaturally, forming patterns that told stories in shapes and colors. Dancing fish made of light, ancient warriors, and children like him, lost and found. Then a voice echoed in his mind, soft but clear. You are the bridge, it said. Kofi's eyes widened. The bridge, he whispered. The spirit behind him bowed its mist-like head, and the water rippled again, revealing a vision of the past, a time when humans and spirits walked together, teaching and learning, laughing and celebrating. But greed and fear had broken the bond, and the spirits had withdrawn, leaving the forests and rivers restless. Queen Amani arrived at the riverbank, accompanied by hunters and elders, their eyes wide with awe. The child sees what we cannot, she said. Her voice trembled with emotion. He understands the old ways, the forgotten laws. If we fail to honor this moment, the balance will be lost forever. The villagers felt the weight of her words as the night air grew heavier, filled with the scent of wet earth and the distant aroma of fire from the mountains. Kofi reached deeper into the water, and the river responded. Ripples formed glowing symbols, telling of an ancient curse that had caused children to vanish, spirits to wander, and forests to grow silent. The curse had begun when humans stopped listening, when greed overshadowed respect for the unseen world. Kofi realized he had a choice: to return to the village as a mere child or to step fully into the path the spirits offered. Suddenly, the mist around the spirit thickened, coiling like living smoke, and a low, melodic hum filled the air. The spirit moved closer to Kofi, its golden eyes locking onto his. You must learn, it whispered, though no mouth moved. The boy felt a warmth in his chest, a courage that was not his own. Somewhere in the distance, the drums began again, steady and commanding, signaling that a turning point had arrived. The villagers watched in silence, realizing that the forest, the river, and even the spirits themselves were not threats, they were teachers. And tonight, Kofi would discover the first truth, that the child who vanished was not lost at all, but chosen for a purpose greater than any one life. The forest held its breath as dawn approached, waiting for the boy to take his first step toward understanding the power and responsibility of his gift. Shadows of the ancestors. The sun rose slowly over the savannah, painting the sky in streaks of amber and rose. Yet despite the light, a sense of unease clung to Nkala. The villagers gathered at the edge of the forest, watching Kofi move deeper among the ancient baobabs, guided by the spirit whose golden eyes glowed brighter than the morning sun. The air was thick with anticipation, and the distant drums sounded urgent, their rhythm echoing like a heartbeat through the hills and riverlands. Elder Abena, her staff tapping lightly against the soft earth, whispered to the hunters, "This path is not just for him, it will test all of us." The spirits do not reveal their secrets without challenge. The hunters nodded, uneasy, glancing at the twisting shadows between the trees. Even Queen Amani's composed face betrayed a flicker of fear. She sensed that a powerful force was stirring. Suddenly, A wind swept through the forest, carrying with it voices that were older than the village itself. The whispers of ancestors, both gentle and warning, filled the air. Kofi froze, sensing the presence of beings unseen but felt. The spirit behind him shimmered and expanded, forming a faint, protective barrier. Then, from the mist, shadowy figures emerged, tall and imposing, cloaked in swirling darkness. Their eyes glowed faintly, like embers in the night. They were the lost children of past generations, trapped between worlds, and they now demanded recognition. Kofi's heart pounded, but he stepped forward. "I am not afraid," he whispered. The spirit moved closer, wrapping him in a faint golden light. The shadows paused, their silent gaze heavy with expectation. Then, one figure taller and more distinct than the others spoke in a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. "The balance is broken. You, child, must restore what was lost, or more will vanish into the shadows." Fear gripped the villagers watching from the forest edge. The hunters gripped their spears, yet knew that steel could not touch these beings. Queen Amani called out, her voice steady but urgent, "Do not harm him. This is the path chosen by the spirits. The boy carries a destiny we cannot interfere with." The villagers murmured, realization dawning. Kofi was no longer just a child. He was a bridge, a hope, and a challenge all at once. Kofi's eyes met the tallest shadow's glowing gaze. The child's small hands trembled, yet he felt an unexpected strength growing within him. The spirit whispered softly, guiding him, "Speak with the ancestors. Listen to their sorrow. Offer your courage in return." Kofi nodded, stepping forward into the circle of misty figures. He spoke words that came from his heart, not his mind, words of apology, respect, and hope. The shadows swayed, their forms flickering as if considering his sincerity. Then, a sudden gust of wind blew through the clearing, carrying the scent of rain and firewood. And the shadows began to dissolve, fading into the light of dawn. A deep calm settled over the forest, and the distant drums slowed to a peaceful rhythm. Kofi turned to the villagers, his face both weary and wiser. The forest had tested him, and he had faced its ancient sorrow. But he knew that this was only the beginning of his journey, a journey that would shape not only his life, but the fate of Kala itself. The spirit's choice. The sun had reached its zenith, burning gold over the savannah, yet the village of Kala felt as if time had slowed. Kofi stood at the river's edge, the spirit behind him shimmering like liquid sunlight. The elders, hunters, and Queen Amani watched from a distance, holding their breath. Today would decide whether the balance between humans and spirits would be restored or broken forever. The river stirred unnaturally, its surface rippling with visions of past generations. Kofi knelt, placing his small hands into the flowing water. Images of lost children, ancient warriors, and forgotten celebrations danced on the surface. The spirits of the forest and river gathered, swirling around him in a silent storm of light and shadow. Their murmurs rose into a chorus, a song older than memory. "Choose wisely," the spirit behind him whispered, its golden eyes steady. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and a dark shadow emerged from the forest. It was a spirit unlike any Kofi had seen before, twisted, angry, and full of sorrow. Its eyes burned red, and its voice echoed like rolling thunder. "You dare awaken the past," it roared. The villagers trembled, but Kofi did not step back. He felt the warmth of the protective spirit around him, the courage of his ancestors guiding him. Kofi raised his hands and spoke, his voice clear despite his fear. "I will restore the bond. I will honor the lost. And I will listen to the whispers of the forest, the river, and the ancestors. I promise to protect the balance." The angry spirit hesitated, its flames of red and black flickering like a dying storm. Around him, the other spirits watched, silent but expectant. Then, the golden spirit moved forward, merging with Kofi's own shadow, enveloping him in a glow so bright that the villagers shielded their eyes. The angry spirit shrieked, but slowly, the red faded into gold. The river shimmered, and the forest seemed to exhale a long, quiet sigh. The lost children's faces appeared once more, smiling, free from the shadows that had held them. Queen Amani stepped forward, tears glimmering in her eyes. "He has done it," she whispered. "The child has chosen with courage, and the spirits have listened." The hunters lowered their spears, feeling a sense of relief and awe. The drums echoed through the mountains, celebrating the restored bond between humans and the ancient forces of the land. Kofi stood, small yet unafraid, knowing that the path ahead would not be easy. The villagers approached cautiously, seeing him not just as a child but as a bridge, a protector, a bearer of ancient wisdom. The forest, the river, and the mountains seemed to glow with approval, their colors brighter, their sounds richer. Even the wind seemed to carry a song of hope. That night, as firelight danced across the village huts and shadows leapt among the trees, Kofi's small hand rested on the spirit's simmering form. The boy had faced fear, sorrow, and the unknown and emerged as a guide for his people. But he knew the journey was far from over. Balance must be tended, respect must be honored, and the whispers of the forest and river would always be there to remind him of his duty. Dawn of understanding. The first light of dawn broke over the village of Nkala, spilling gold and pink across the savanna and riverlands. Birds stirred, calling softly, and the wind carried the scent of wet earth and blooming flowers. Kofi walked through the village, the golden spirit now gently following behind him, visible only to those who believed. The villagers watched in awe, their hearts filled with a mixture of wonder, fear, and gratitude. Elder Abina approached, placing a gentle hand on Kofi's shoulder. "You have done what no one thought possible," she said. "You listened when others feared, you faced the shadows, and you returned not just yourself, but hope to all of us." Kofi smiled faintly, still absorbing the weight of the journey. The rivers, forests, and mountains had spoken to him, and now he understood their language in a way that no child ever had before. Queen Amani stepped forward, her robe shimmering in the morning light. "The spirits have chosen to trust us again because of Kofi's courage and respect," she declared. "From this day, the village of Nkala will honor the balance between the human world and the unseen, the spirits, and the ancestors. We will remember that every life, Every act, every word carries weight in this world and the next. The villagers gathered near the river, some kneeling to touch the water, others whispering prayers of thanks. Kofi felt a warm wind brush his face, carrying the soft laughter of the freed spirits. They danced in the sunlight, their forms delicate and ethereal, shimmering like gold dust before vanishing into the trees and river. Even the hunters, who had been skeptical, nodded in respect, realizing that courage and humility were stronger than any spear. As the day grew brighter, Kofi stood at the riverbank, the golden spirit beside him. He realized the greatest lesson of all: the world was alive, and every being seen or unseen had its place. Greed, fear, and ignorance could disrupt the balance, but respect, courage, and understanding could restore it. He was no longer just a child who had vanished. He was a bridge between worlds, a guardian of harmony, and a reminder that even the smallest person could make a great difference. Elder Abina smiled at the gathered villagers. "Remember this day," she said. "Remember Kofi's courage and the spirit's forgiveness. Teach your children that respect for all life, human, animal, and spirit, is the true path to harmony. Fear blinds, but wisdom listens. Hatred destroys, but love restores." The villagers bowed their heads, letting her words sink deep into their hearts. As the sun climbed higher, Kofi walked back to his home, the spirit lingering for a moment before disappearing with the morning mist. The village hummed with life, the river sparkled, and the forest seemed at peace. Nkala had learned that courage and respect could heal even the deepest rifts between worlds. And as Kofi looked to the horizon, he understood that the journey was never truly over. It was a continuous dance between humanity and the unseen, a dance guided by heart, courage, and wisdom. And so, the lost child returned at dawn, carrying not only himself, but the lessons of the spirits, the ancestors, and the river, reminding all that respect, courage, and understanding are the true guardians of life.